Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to another SARE National session. We are so thrilled to have you here today. My goodness, each and every week, SARE provides new content, new speakers, people who are really the experts in their field. And today we are actually talking about tax-free retirement plans with Monica Lowe. So let me tell you a little bit of our speaker today. Monica Lowe was born in Mexico City. She has been here in the United States for more than 25 years. She has a background in international studies and worked at the Mexican consulate in Dallas for several years, serving Mexican nationals in the area. So as for today, she is the director and CEO of Lowe and Associates and has dedicated herself to educating and assisting the Hispanic community, really in the areas of financial education and planning, recognizing the great need to share valuable information that can significantly benefit Hispanic families to improve their present and future well-being. So I mentioned the topic for today, tax-free retirement plans. We're talking about how different strategies can accumulate cash and end up saving you money on your taxes and benefiting your business. So to get into specifics, what I'm going to do is I'm going to then become a participant. I'm going to become an attendee right along with everybody else. I'll be over here taking notes as a question pops up, as something comes into your head and you wonder, gosh, I'm wondering what Monica would have to say about this. Type it in the chat. I will take it down. And then with any time that we have left before 4 o'clock, I will ask Monica. Okay, Monica, here we go. Big deep breath, and we'll let you take it away.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Jenny. Really appreciate it. Well, welcome to Tax-Free Retirement Tools. I'm very excited to be here with you all sharing this valuable information on secrets and strategies that protect and preserve your wealth. I'm Monica Lowe, like Jenny said, and I really want to give a special thanks to SARE National and SARE Mujer for this opportunity to share information and education with our community. So first, let me share my very personal experience. And I want to show off this beautiful couple. These are my parents when they were 17 and 20 years old. My mom is from Mexico City, and my dad was from Michoacan, Mexico. So they were happily married for a few years, and until my dad passed away at age 31, and leaving my mom a widow of 28 with 4 kids under the age of 10. So I grew up without a father and with an absent mom. And since she had this great financial burden, she had to work long hours. So it is very personal to me to share this information and so that families can plan accordingly for their loved ones. Another experience that has shaped what I do today is when I worked for the Mexican consulate here in Dallas, Texas, where I help Mexican nationals with sometimes difficult situations regarding their lives here in the States. And that reminded me of the vulnerability of our community here in the States and the need for education and planning. So that's another part that makes me passionate, and my mission is to help out as many possible families to educate themselves, especially on finances. So what makes this webinar different? Just from the start, I'm going to tell you I have a lot of information. Some of it you might not have heard before, so just bear with me. I will try to go to as much as possible here, but we're gonna go have a webinar. More webinars and also a workshop so we can ask all the questions you want if we don't get to it today. So today, what makes this different is we're going to share this valuable information about how to prepare for retirement, because many people are concerned that they're just not going to have enough money for their retirement. So we want to help you protect your money from the negative impacts like the taxes, the inflation, the market volatility, the economic uncertainty. And that's going to be by helping you maintain liquid assets safely earning returns, because that's what's going to help you get certainty in the future. Now, there are three big dangers to our money, which are rising taxes, inflation, and market volatility. Okay, we need to consider this. So we're going to learn about liquidity, safety, compound rates of return, and tax advantages that will help you with this purpose of saving for retirement. As you might know, compound interest, as Albert Einstein compared it to, is the most powerful force in the universe, okay? So we need to learn and understand what compound interest is really. In the financial world, compound interest allows you to create and maintain wealth. That's why it's very important to understand it. And for that, I'm going to ask you to do a little exercise with me if you can. So if you have a piece of paper like this one that you may see on the picture, okay, you may do this exercise or not, but what we're going to do is to try to understand by doing this exercise what the miracle of compound interest does. If you fold it in half, okay, you're doubling it in size. And if you fold it again, you're again doubling in size. So if you do this exercise, you'll see that you can possibly fold it about 5 or 6 times physically, okay? No more than that. But every time you fold it, it doubles in size, correct? So I want you to imagine for a second that you can actually fold it not 6 times, but 50 times, okay? How many of you would tell me what would be the thickness if you fold it 50 times? Can you share in the chat, maybe? Well,
I'm not seeing anything in the chat just yet, but tell us.
okay, that's going to be, surprise, surprise, 93 million miles. That's almost 75% of the distance from Earth to the sun. So it's crazy, right? And that is how the miracle of compound interest works. It doubles every time. So 50 folds will take you from the Earth to the sun. Now, can you tell me how many folds would take me back from the sun to the Earth? It would tell me it would take one more fold. Okay, because remember, every time we're folding, it's doubling. So it would take 51 folds to go from the earth to the sun and back. That is a crazy, crazy distance. So right here, I want you just to think a little more on the compound interest and the power of it, and why we use it in the financial world, and why we need to learn to understand it first, and also to learn to protect it. Okay, because remember I said before, there's some dangers to your money that are going to keep you from accessing that money. So when you're choosing a financial strategy, I want you to think about these. This is an analogy that is going to help me to try to explain to you. So what we need is a financial strategy that would help you protect your money. So when you're choosing this financial strategy, is like let's say if you are going to a golf tournament and you have the opportunity to choose either the clubs or the swing of a professional golfer? Which one would you choose? The swing or the clubs? Well, if you choose the clubs, if it was that easy, we would all go buy the clubs and become millionaires, and professional golfers and become millionaires, but that is not that easy. What is worth millions is the swing. The swing meaning the strategy that the golfer uses. So in this particular analogy, I want you to understand that what we need to learn here when we are picking or we are talking about a financial strategy, we want to learn about the swing, which is the strategy that we're going to use to help you protect and maintain your money. Okay? From these three dangers. One of the dangers is the hidden partner in your IRA or 401ks. Also, the reason why your financial advisor cannot show predictable income. And the other reason is, the other danger would be not knowing what you need to eliminate from your financial strategy. Okay? We're going to talk about this more in depth here. So the first danger, handing over your financial future to the government through your 401k and IRAs. Okay? Because the 401ks and IRAs are really a partnership. And who is the other owner in this partnership? It's the government. Okay? The government takes part of your money through taxes. So what we need to do is take control back of our money, because the government will taxes through our earned money, our passive, and our portfolio. So everybody feels like we're always paying taxes one way or the other, right? So who thinks that the taxes will likely be higher or lower in the future? You can comment in the chat. So lower, will it stay the same, or will it be higher? Most of us would agree that the taxes will be higher. Actually, over here in this graphic, I'm gonna have my little pen here. In this graphic, we can see over here, since 1913, when the taxes started, okay, we see right here an 80% in tax rate, okay? Right after the 1940s, the tax rate was 94%. Right now, if you're at high tax bracket, we are at a 37% tax bracket, right? So historically, we're not at the highest tax bracket, okay? That was back in the 1940s, okay? An average tax bracket, it's actually 55%. So we're not even there. So what is the possibility of the taxes being higher when it's time for you to retire? It's very possible, right? Another way that we lose money in retirement is because we're not having deductions in our mortgage, our children's that used to be dependents, they're not anymore. And also, we're not making contributions to our IRA and 401ks anymore, right? So I want you to understand here the impact of the taxes and why we need to understand it as well. Let's see, in this example, you have, let's say we give you $1 that turns into $2, right? And then $2 turn into 4 with the compounding effect, and then 8, 16, 32, etc. If you compound this dollar 20 times, it turns into a big $1 million. All right? It's wow. But guess what? If you actually have to pay taxes on these $1 million, it's not that surprising that the number is going to be a lot lower. If you actually pay, let's say you're a 25% tax bracket and you pay that 25% on just the growth of the $2, $4, $8, $16, just the growth, the 25%. What do you think is going to be that amount? I'm going to show you right here. It's going to be 72,570. That's by paying 25% of taxes in that growth. Crazy, right? And if you live in a state like California, where you have to pay higher taxes, this is an example of what it would be with a 33% tax bracket. So instead of you having your million, the taxes will bring your million down to 27,362. Who wants that to happen? So as you can tell, taxes erode the miracle of compounding. Okay? And that's why we need to very much understand, number one, compounding, and number two, how taxes work. Because what we want to do is, for example, when you are contributing to your 401k and your IRAs, you're deferring to your taxes. You're not paying taxes now, but you will be paying taxes, right? Eventually. And as we already talked about, we might be paying higher taxes. So what we have with deferred taxes, it's actually an increasing in taxes. You will actually be paying taxes. They're not going to disappear. So where we want to get you is so that you don't have actually any taxes to pay in your growth. Okay? So there's something that we called a strategic rollout conversion. Okay, for those that have money in IRAs and 401ks, like this example. So most people have 401ks or IRAs, right? Those are tax deferred accounts. So, and it's going to happen that when it's time to get the money out, you will be paying the taxes. But there's this strategic rollout. It's a strategy where you have the possibility of switching this taxable bucket. In this example, this person, John Smith, has $1.9 million, right? Which is really great. And he's going to be okay paying his taxes and maybe getting a 7% in his money. But he heard about these other strategies that could possibly help him and that are tax-free. Okay, so it is possible to switch this taxable bucket into a tax-free bucket. For the sake of time, I cannot right now explain exactly how this works, but I just want you to understand that that is possible and that it does make sense when you see at the end these people at age 75 with his RMDs, which are the minimum distributions from his IRA or 401ks, he will be taking out about $500,000. And with a tax-free fund with growing with compound interest and tax-free again, it would grow to 1.4 million. So he has about $9,900,000. I'm sorry, 900,000 more. Okay, almost a million just by switching his money to a tax-free strategy. All right. So the danger number two would be inflation. Okay. And we need to understand why we are saving money. Why am I saving money? In reality, why we're growing our money. And that's what we need to focus, because that's the objective. We are saving money so that we can access it when we need it the most. Correct? So there are four phases of contributing to your financial plan. Okay, the contribution phase, the accumulation phase, the distribution phase, and the transfer phase. Okay, so when you have a large account in a 401k, most tax advisors are going to advise you to stay there and to apply the 4% rule. The 4% rule says that you cannot take out more than 4% of your retirement so that it can last for as long as you need it. So if you have let's say $1,000,000 in your 401k, the 4% rule would be 40,000. So you cannot take out more than 40,000 so that you can live and you cannot outlive your money. Okay. Now, what happens now that you have that 4%, which is 40,000, it comes out of a 401k or an IRA, right? And what happens with those? We just talked about. They are taxable. So you're going to be paying taxes on those 40,000, which is going to be probably between 25 to 27,000 that you can get out every year to live on. So for some people are like, that's not enough and it doesn't sound too great, right? But there is a smarter way where you can generate the greatest amount of income, okay, during your distribution phase, okay, right here. And during this distribution phase and with this strategy, with a 6 to 10% payout and also tax-free, you can get from that same $1 million about 60 to 100,000 a year, right? So that is much better, from 25 to 27,000 to 40,000, right? A year. Much better. That's going to make a difference in your retirement. Because we want our retirement plan to be more like this generator, a nice fancy generator, not an this battery that is like, oh my goodness, how much money am I gonna have for my retirement? Okay, so we have to pay attention what we're doing today, that how much money I'm going to get access at my retirement time. And that's the retirement tax dilemma. Okay, most people have one or two or three or several of these accounts: savings, CDs, stocks, mutual funds, annuities, IRAs, 401ks. These are all good. They're not bad accounts. There's not such a thing as a bad account, right? But what do all of these accounts have in common? They are taxable. They all are taxable. They're growing, but they will be taxed when you retire. Okay? So what we want to help you is to have a balanced retirement with a tax diversification, because you don't want to have all your money in these buckets, right? That are going to be taxable. You want to have a tax diversification so that you have some money that is tax-free. Some of them are going to be taxable, but they're still growing, right? So diversification here is the key. So let's go back to the phases of retirement planning. Okay, contribution, accumulation, distribution, and transfer. Let me see here. Most people pay taxes at the contribution phase, at the accumulation phase, and the distribution phase, and the transfer phase. Okay, most people are doing that. Now, some people have some accounts that are tax favored during the accumulation phase, okay? And that's good, but that's still not good enough. If you wanted to eliminate losses or taxes, which phase would be most important? The contribution phase, the accumulation phase, the distribution phase, or the transfer phase? I'm going to help you, okay? If you were a farmer and had the choice to pay taxes on the seed or the entire harvest, which one would you prefer? Pay taxes on this little seed or pay taxes on the whole harvest? Okay? I would do the seed because it's obviously less taxes than paying for the whole harvest, right? So we want to look for a plan that is going to be tax-free in the distribution and the transfer phases, okay? And that's what we're talking today. As you can see, this one here, this strategy has the most green, the green signs here means that they're tax favored in the accumulation phase, the distribution phase, and the transfer phase. You do have to pay taxes at some point, which is a contribution with which this is the seed, the little one, okay? Now, the danger number two is, I'm sorry, number three, and the one thing we need to very much eliminate is losses, okay? Warren Buffett said there are two rules of investing. Number one is don't lose money, eliminate losses. And the rule number two, since rule number one is so important, he made it to be, don't forget rule number one. Eliminate losses. No matter what you do, you have to focus on eliminating losses, meaning less taxes possible and less pain. So here's a graphic that I want to show you that shows the myth of the Wall Street average rate of return. If you have money in the stock market, let's say you make 50% of gain in that year. Second year, you lose 50%. Third year you earn 50%, and the fourth year you lose 50%. You might think that you average it's 0%, correct? Well, wrong. Because if we see on this graphic here, let's say you start with 100,000 in 1 year. The next year you gain 50%, you're gonna have 150,000. If you lose 50%, you're gonna have 50 of 150, which is 75,000. Correct? Now, next year you gain 50%, 50% of 75 is 112,500. And then you lose another 50%, you end up with 56,250, right? Which in reality, it's not an average to return of zero. It's a real return of minus 43.75. Do you guys see the difference? So you started with 100,000 and you ended up with 56,000. Okay, and this is pretty much what the stock market does. Do you agree? It goes up and down. So a 25 loss has to be followed by a 33 gain. A 33 loss has to be followed by a 50% gain, and a 50% loss has to be followed by a 100% gain. And again, this is a graphic that shows how the S&P performs. It goes down, up, and that's how it works. So what we're going to show you here is a strategy that is called indexing. What indexing does is that it warranties a floor of zero, okay? Meaning that it's not going to participate of the downturn of the losses of the market. It's only going to participate of when the market goes up, all right? That's the guarantee and the beauty of indexing. And that's what is going to allow us to eliminate those losses that Warren Buffett was talking about. So indexing would allow us to have a floor of zero and a cap. A cap means the most you can make, okay? So an index fund would look like this. Some years is going to be 8.97. Another years, when the market goes down below zero, we're going to stay at zero, okay? When the market goes up, we're going to go up all the way to 11%, and so on, okay? You don't see any losses right here. So that allows your money to grow safely and not losing. So we're going to recap the three strengths of indexing is do not lose money. It does not lose money when the market goes down. It grows with point-to-point locked-in gains, and it also resets the growth. Again, I know this is a lot of information, but we can go more in depth later on, okay? So this is a comparison between the performance of the S&P, a regular traditional plan, and this is a tax-free fund that the strategies that we recommend. So the same amount of money over the years is going to be very different in growth. As you can see, it would be around 600,000 to a million to more than to 1.6 million. It's a big, huge difference that is going to make when you retire and are ready to access that money. Now, how does this work and why it works? So it works because we're going to consider this a tax-free bucket that is, you're going to find the answers in the Internal Revenue Code on the sections 101 that says that this strategy is tax-free. And in the section 72E says that it grows, the growth on this strategy grows tax-free. And also you can access it tax-free under this section of the law 7702. So Under this Internal Revenue Code 101 says that the families in the 1913s, when they decided to tax American people, they started to see that they needed to put their money in plans or accounts that would not be taxable. So they started to reclassify their money as money that is not taxable. And take a guess how this is possible. Under the code 101 of the Internal Revenue Code, a death benefit, you can put money in a life insurance and the death benefit is not taxable. So what they have been doing is they've been actually putting their money in these accounts to access it tax-free when the time comes. Okay? Because what happens here, it all has to do with the insurance company risk and your risk. Okay? And the insurance company risk and plus your risk is your total death benefit. Now, the key here is that you can own your death benefit as much as possible and not have the company have so much risk. So this type of insurance policy can be compared to owning an apartment building, okay, and making it your own business. When you own an apartment building and you rent it out, is going to be a huge, cash cow, right? You're going to be renting out and getting money when you have these rented. A life insurance, you can compare it as well, like a building that you can rent out. So, but you have to have all the buildings, all the levels without vacancy so that it works. Okay, the death benefit has to match and has to be max funded. That's what we called a tax-free max funded strategy is how it would work and how you can access it tax-free later on. And these codes are also in these laws, okay, TEFRA, DEFRA, and TAMRA. I can give you more information on this, of course, more detailed information. But these are the laws under the revenue code that will help you understand why this life insurance strategy is tax-free and why you can access it tax-free and grow tax-free, because it sounds good to be true, but it is legal, and these laws can tell you that. All right, so life insurance is not an investment and should not be purchased as investments. Okay, and I tell you why. Because what happens when you have an investment? You pay taxes, and if you have learned a little bit today, is that we want to avoid paying as much taxes as possible. Okay, so your life insurance is going to perform like a bucket, okay? And you can fill it up as much as possible, but just like the apartment building, you want it to be full, okay, in order to work. It is a very great strategy, which it take a little bit longer to explain how exactly it works, but this is just to give you an idea and why it works under these laws from TEFRA 1982, DEFRA 1984, and TEMRA 1988. So we have three great opportunities here. These are tax-free vehicles, okay, that are going to help us with the inflation and the indexing for safety, okay? It's going to help us have liquidity, safety of your principal on your money, and a great rate of return with the compound interest. So these are the typical results of a great swing, a great strategy. It's not only a club, it's not only a product that you go buy. And this is really a strategy that will help you use your money wisely and compound it and also protect it from those dangers of your money. So I hope this was a valuable information. I hope you learned something new today. Again, we can't cover everything today. I would love to talk to you. I sent you guys an link. They can have send me their information if they want to talk more. And also, we're gonna have a workshop talking more in depth about this. And this is my information, my contact number, and my email. I'll be happy to talk to anybody that has questions.
That's wonderful. Monica, thank you so much. This is excellent. So you guys will see in the chat, I mentioned that chat bar at the very beginning, right? Over on the right-hand side, they did put the link. So you'll see the link that Monica was referencing. It's in the chat as we speak. Another option, if you're thinking, I don't want to be linked away from that, you can take a screenshot of the screen right now. She was generous enough to put on her contact information, her email address, her website, etc. Now, look, we just have about 9 minutes here, but I know we can get a lot back and forth done here. If you all have questions, post them in the chat. In the meantime, Monica, what is the biggest mistake that you're seeing people make that you're thinking from you're an expert, you're thinking, oh my gosh, you're missing this opportunity. What's the most common mistake?
I would say educating themselves. I would say learning more about the strategies that are really going to help them because unfortunately there's so much out there and I know it's very overwhelming. But the more you know, the obviously is going to be, you're gonna make more educated and wise decisions. I chose to get educated in this matter because as you can tell, it has been very personal to me to do the right thing for myself, my family, and others as well. So it's very important for me to help people to educate themselves uh, because once I have many people that have reached the retirement age and unfortunately it's too late. And it's very sad, and that's why we're trying to help people to do the homework today.
When do people usually come to you? What would be the optimal time for somebody to come to you?
Oh my goodness. As soon as they start working.
Yesterday.
Yes, yesterday, 18 years old, because they can start developing those good financial habits and little by little learning about this compound interest. If they know how it works, they would see like, oh, I'd rather, save my $10 and doubling it than spending on something that I might not need or is going to end up in the trash. So education is key here because we're not going to learn otherwise unless it happens by experience, and it might be too late by then, right?
Monica, what do you say to the person who's thinking, listen, that's great for people that have excess money, but me, I don't have excess money and I'm just living paycheck to paycheck. So this is for people that have more wealth than I do. What do you say to that person?
Right. Great question. Because Uh, this is for everybody. I can tell you that this is for everybody. It doesn't matter how much you make. It matters what you do with what you make. Okay. So we help people to learn to start a budget and live within the budget, just basic financial good habits so that they can get to the point of having and creating this wealth. Because if they don't have those good habits, it's just never going to happen. And unfortunately, we see this in our Hispanic community, that we don't teach our children these habits, and then they end up spending too much, not saving, not starting a plan for the future. So it's very important that we are serious about learning about what is going to help me in the future.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because I'm assuming what would happen is somebody's thinking, okay, I don't have the money now, but maybe when I get that next raise. Well, then if you haven't built the habits when you make the next raise, then you start spending that money too. Is that right?
Correct, correct. Yes. If we don't have the habit of saving the money and putting it in an account that will help us, we're just gonna spend the money. Yeah, because putting the money in the bank doesn't do anything. And like you can see, and I showed, putting it in the market, it's okay, but it has its risks, right? And it also has the disadvantages of the taxes. So we need to really learn how to avoid those losses, eliminate those losses so that we can put more money in our pocket in the end.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Is there an age where it is too late? Is it retirement or when is that point?
Um, Actually, it's not too late if they have been saving, like I gave in the example, if they have been saving money in a 401k and an IRA, and they can switch it to a better strategy to avoid those taxes. So yes, if they have, been saving, yes, and we can switch it, right? But if they haven't done anything, unfortunately, it's just a matter of helping them to help their family members so they don't repeat the same cycle, right? I talk about that a lot. Yes.
I love that you brought that up. It's a cultural component to it too, right? To like, okay, if we're going to be in family, if we're going to be in community, if we're going to be sharing recipes, if we're going to be sharing traditions, share this too. Share financial security.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah, and I think here's the thing about human nature. We do not want to face things that we think we may not be doing right. So we avoid people like you because we think, well, I don't want Monica to judge me. I don't want her to think, Jenny, what have you been doing with your life? Or so and so, what have you been doing with your life? What do you see the person that's just like really intimidated to call a professional and say, hey, I think I need some guidance here?
Right. I would say please don't hesitate to do that, because it's just like the health, like the physical health. We're gonna have suffer the consequences if we don't take care of our body eventually, right? So it's better to do it as soon as possible, to take the time and do it gradually, because this is a process. And in the meantime, you're teaching your kids, you're teaching your community, right, to not make the same mistakes, right? Because if, for example, just as you may know, in the Hispanic community, we put a lot of emphasis in the quinceañeras, right? So I tell people, that's awesome, that's great, I love parties, okay? But we need to think about if that's a wise um, decision to make versus saving for college, for example, okay? Because many of our kids don't go to college because parents did not prepare on time. Even if they have scholarships, college is very expensive, right?
I love that you brought that up because there's these cultural traditions, right? And you kind of feel like you have to do it.
Right.
And I'm hearing you say you don't have to do that. You chart your own path, live your own life, maybe do something smaller, maybe do another tradition. Maybe people still contribute, but you don't have the party, and then you could build up get started a little bit in that way.
Yes, do not get into that trap of the, consumerism in this country where we want to buy everything just because we can or because we work so hard and we deserve it. It's okay. Like I said, I spoil myself. I do a lot of things, but I also have to be conscious about what's going to be later because, like I talked about my mom she didn't have much, and right now has to depend on her children.
Yeah.
Okay, so many people have to do that, and some children, might not be able to help.
Right. Right. Monica, I think it's a perfect way to end it because that can be the reality for all of us. Any of us at any point in time could end up on one side or the other of that. And we've got to live in reality, live in truth, live in the now. So I appreciate what you said. Monica Lowe, thank you so much. Great job in the presentation today. And I just
Thank
want to
you.
You're welcome. I want to point out to everybody, she did leave her email address on there. So if you're even intimidated to make a call, the email address is on there, the phone number's on there. And thank you again today.
Yes, and just to reiterate, there's no judging. I tell people we've all been there, we're all learning, and it's okay.
It's okay. Hey, everybody, we will see you next week, same time, same place for another SARE National Session. My name's Jenny Anchondo, and I will see you then. Bye bye, everybody.
Thank you, Jenny.